Coming to you from Israel in the Galilee. And what we're going to cover today is Trump is going to China Wednesday, tomorrow, and returning on the 15th. So he's leaving the 13th, coming back the 15th, which is Friday. So he's not going to sleep in China Friday. They'll finish Friday afternoon and he'll get on his plane. So I don't think we're going to see the war. We might see the war start while Trump is flying back, but I think the earliest he'll start the war would be Friday night or late afternoon Friday, so the stock market doesn't freak out and the commodities and the futures and all of that, or start it on a Saturday. Uh, this is a modus operandi Trump has. So most of the people that are following this and know something about what they're talking about are rather consistent that the war is going back on. You know, the Iranians, when they submitted their proposal to Trump, they asked for war reparations. Do you get the absurdity of that? By the way, today's May 12th. Tuesday, May 12th. I'm giving you the time here in Israel. So, I better check this message. Hold on a minute. It's my wife. I don't know what she wants. Hold on. Okay, that was not important. All right. I'll play that later. Okay. So we're going to discuss all the different parameters, what's going on in the world. There was an F-35 plane that got into the trouble flying around the Persian Gulf, and he put up the warning signal. Uh, it's a 7700 or something. It's a universal signal that's saying he's got some sort of a malfunction and he needs whoever's nearby to open up a runway for him because he's got to come in and get out of the sky quick. There's some sort of malfunction. And the Iranians, of course, were listening. Why wouldn't they be listening? Of course they're going to listen to the air traffic. I mean, I would expect nothing less, right? And they they said they shot him down. Well, let's break this out. An F-35 pilot flying in hostile territory for sure, right? Gets hit by a drone. Well, you can't take an F-35 down by a drone. Let's say he gets hit by a missile. Well, you can't really hit an F-35 with a missile. Let's just say he did. So the guy gets hit with a missile. Well, what did the missile do? If the missile hit him, there was an impact explosion. You know, piece of the fuselage is missing. He could be dead or unconscious. A wing could be off. His engine could be gone. You know, he's going to eject if he's alive or conscious. He's going to eject. He's not going to sit there with his transponder going off, giving the Iranians a perfect target to fire a second missile at, right? And finish them off. They don't use transponders when they're in combat, and then ask somebody for a good spot to land safely, he'd pull the ejection and get out. Maybe if he was over Iran, he might wait a few seconds if he had time to get into a more civilized country and then pull his ejection. So this is the Iranians just playing their idiot games. They didn't tag this F-35. Yeah. Look, if I thought they would, that it really happened, I would tell you. And I don't believe it really happened. Okay. I believe the guy had some issue, hydraulics, engine overheating, computer problem, something like that. Could have been his radio, you know. It could have been his oxygen. Who knows? What the pilot did is he went by protocol and he said, "Okay, um, I got to come down." He made a command decision based on what his training says. This is wrong land, emergency land. If it was minor, like a seat spring was sticking out or something like that, he'd probably, just go back to base. But you know, this was serious. So don't believe that story if you pick it up. All right. We'll get into it. All the different combat that took place last night. And I'm going to go look at the chat right now and put a post up real quick. And we'll get started and people will be coming in. And we're going to discuss what Trump is doing in China, which is pretty cool. He's bringing perhaps 20 or 30 heads of industry from America, like Boeing, Elon Musk, lots of people over there. So it's some kind of trade talk. So Trump wants to walk away with a lot of trade deals for his rich millionaire, billionaire friends. You guys can go suck wind. But these are the people that got him elected that are writing checks for $200,000-300,000 for his election. These are the people that put him in office, and these are the spots that he cares about. And he's going there to see how rich he can get these guys. What's that going to do for you? They'll go buy new yachts and you'll be able to get a job working for them on the night shift or something like that. I've known military pilots, and I'll tell you, a lot of them get out of the military and they never fly again. They're sick of it. They flew so much, they don't want to fly anymore. As a matter of fact, I think it's rather rare to find military pilots that retire out and then run around flying planes and recreational. I mean, maybe some of them do it for a living, and a lot of them do. They work for airlines and private pilots and stuff like that, but they're flying because it's a way for them to make a good living. What other skill set do they have? They could work for various companies manufacturing military equipment, but very few of those jobs are out there. So, are the American military pilots good? Yeah. Are they excellent? I think so. Yeah, they're very good. Now they have different levels. I knew a guy that went into the Air Force. He wanted to be a pilot, and they gave him all the tests, and then before they sent him to aviation or private school, they said to him, "Look, we're not sending you because the way your scores are." I think he was actually in pilot school. He started or something. They give him a preliminary, maybe for a few weeks or something. They said, "Look, you'll make it. You'll be a pilot, but you'll be a very borderline pilot, and we don't need borderline pilots." I think they might have let him go through. I don't know. So he would have the most boring, mundane jobs, flying unimportant cargo or something. So he didn't do it. He went to officers' school, and he became an officer. And I knew another guy that wanted to go in as a pilot, and he didn't make it, and he wound up working as a major, and he got some sort of disability he didn't want to talk about. He was an alcoholic when I knew him, and he had some disability he wouldn't talk about, and he got some sort of pension, not a full pension, some kind of partial, and he left as a major. The other one I knew left as a light colonel. They let the non-Satan bots even get to full colonel. Not that often, but they do. Do I believe there's a non-Satan bot general running around? I doubt it. I don't think so. The first club in the military is non-commissioned officer, like a sergeant, Then the next level is, I think the Navy got something else, like a chief petty officer, something that's kind of like an officer, but it's like in between officer and non-commissioned officer, but I believe they're allowed to go into the officers' mess and eat in the officers' club. But that's just in the Navy. So the next level is they become officer, ensigns, lieutenants, commanders, captains, whatever, right? Okay. And that's the next club. That's not, you don't need to be a Satan bot to get into that club. The next club is the generals. And I don't believe that's open to non-Satan bots. And that's the 1 to 3 star general. And even a 1-star general is plenty powerful. A million years ago, I worked for the Fed. I was getting trained on a base. It was an army base, and they were treating us as non-commissioned officers, like a sergeant or something like that. So we were able to use the non-com officers' restaurant or club, whatever you call it. We were able to go to the base exchange and use the store at the cheap prices if we wanted to. I went shopping and it didn't look that great. I wasn't so impressed. Um, they didn't want us carrying weapons on the base, but they had a shooting range. But anyway, one day, we would get up. Some of the guys would get up at 5 o'clock and go use the head, the toilets, and the showers before everybody. Most people got up around 6, and then it was a rush to the bathrooms and the showers. They had us in a barracks where we had dividers that didn't go up to the ceiling, and they had no closed door, but we had furniture in there in the bed, and that was the way they treated us. And well, we'd storm out. We wouldn't storm out. We'd walk through whatever classroom they were telling us to go to in the morning, depending on what phase of training you're in. And we're walking in a group. There's like, I don't know, maybe there was 25 of us. And, we're not walking in formation. Half of the guys, well, I don't know, half. A lot of them were retired right out of the military. And everybody had law enforcement experience previously. I think almost everybody were military, including me. So we were walking around and we were swarming in the road, I guess you'd call it. We were just not in a formation. We're just walking. And it's early in the morning, and this general is coming with his Jeep. And they called generals. He was the guy in charge of the base. I think he was a 2-star. Memory seems to tell me he was a 2-star. And we were blocking the road. In other words, we weren't doing double file on the side towards one side of the road. And he's got his driver in his Jeep with his flag with the stars on it. That's why they call him a flag officer. The colonels and the captains and stuff, they don't get to drive around with these flags, on their Jeep. This is many, many years ago when I was young, so they don't have those Jeeps anymore. They got Humvees or something like that. When he's driving the Jeep, it's like a World War II Jeep, driving the Jeep, and we're blocking the road, so we get the horn. Yeah, we don't know, so we turn around, so then we move. Nobody's sitting there going like this, right? So we turn and we move, and man, did we hear about that. Oh my gosh, we got chewed out. The whole lot of us, the whole classroom. This is the general in charge of the base, and you could have moved out of the way when you saw him come. We didn't see him come. He was coming up on our rear. How do we know you got to do this, and you got to, it's him, it's his base. He's good enough to let you use his base, and what are you? So we're supposed to believe that, he got the right to tell us we can't use his base or use his base. Yeah, it's just ridiculous. That's what these guys got going for them. One of the guys I knew that was in the Air Force, he was a light colonel, retired at that. He told me that he was in a room, an office with other officers, and he wasn't the colonel yet. He was what's under a colonel, a captain, a major. He was a major, and they moved his desk area making it shorter than theirs. They were colonels, right? Okay. And then he got his promotion and became a light colonel. When they, when they moved him in there, apparently he knew he was going to be a colonel shortly. But anyway, it came through, and then they moved his desk to give him the same space that they had, And he was telling me it in a way to show me what morons they were. I had a lot of conversations with this guy. He told me he saw generals, multi-star generals, fighting with other generals, like a 2-star fighting with another 2-star, because they can't agree on how to do something. And they had the same rank. Now, a 2-star general is generally not used to being overridden, okay? I mean, there's not that many people running around in the military that could override this guy. You got to basically be a 3 and a 4-star. 4-stars they're generally not going to have much contact with, because the 4-star is usually the head of something, and he's in a command center somewhere, and he's surrounded by officers. Now, he might have, as a gopher, a colonel. Why would that be? Well, he might have a full bird, a full bird colonel, the high colonel, as his gopher, because they're grooming the colonel to see if they can get this Satan bot to be a general, and if he's worthy. They're grooming him. They don't know if he can do it or not. And one of the things they'll do is they put him in this position with a general, and he follows the general around, and he sees how the general does things. He might be like that for 2 or 3 years. Then the opening comes, boom, you're a general. They make him a general. Okay, there's a big, big difference between being a full bird colonel, of which there's quite a few, and being even a 1-star general. There's a massive difference. The colonels usually will, if you got a low colonel, he gets promoted to a high colonel. I think they call him lieutenant colonel. I don't remember. He becomes a full bird colonel. He's still going to be friends with the guys that are majors and light colonels. He's still going to eat with them. He's going to be buddy with them and stuff like that. The guy becomes a general, a 1-star general. He's not going to go around and hang out with the colonels like they're his peer. No. It's a giant step to being a colonel, being a general. I mean, it's a big deal, And, he starts getting a staff. He gets a big house on a base where he can entertain. What's a big house? They probably get about 3,500 square foot house. So he's got a dining room that's nice with a chandelier. He's got a big living room. He probably has a den. So he can entertain. Does he have a swimming pool? Who the heck knows? Maybe. I don't know. It's a nice house. And he'll have military will do the grounds upkeep for him, the yard and all that stuff. And does he have a maid and people? I guess they could arrange for that. Not sure. I don't know. Now, I expect when you get to 3 and 4-star, they get all kinds of much more staff. They probably have all kinds of domestic servants waiting on them. I'm real sure. Yeah. A 4-star, he's probably got 3 or 4 people running around his house, a secretary, all kinds of stuff. So it's these 2-star generals are having a fight with each other because they're both 2-stars. So what they did, it's the one goes to the other. When did you get your 2nd star? And he gives him the date. Then the other guy says, "Well, I got mine, before you did, so I'm senior general here. So we're going to do it my way." That's how they settle their fights. That's how petty they are. Like children. Satan bots are like children. Okay? They're like children. So that's what went on, and it's a miracle that the American military, functions. But then let's look at it. Korea, they never won. That was a treaty. Vietnam, they never won. They retreated. They left, right? The Iraq War, they won. But they did it with other countries too. Several countries were fighting, not just America, and they had overwhelming force, and they didn't have such a fun time doing it, but they did it. Okay, to protect the Emir of Kuwait, which I think that was the stupidest, idiotic thing America ever did. Why not let him have Kuwait? What do you care about Kuwait for? Kuwait, that dictator that they were protecting in Kuwait used to divorce one of his wives every Tuesday, I think. Maybe it was Thursday. He had one day a week. They have a limit of 4 wives. Modern Islam, 4 wives. So he had, like, I think a main wife. That I don't know what she was the mother of the children. Who knows? And he had others, and then he had an empty slot every week. He would marry a new wife. Okay, he'd get rid of the old one. He just goes to her and says, I divorce you. She knows she's only going to be married for a week. And then she moves into some house. He gives her a place to live. And I think he had like a harem room where, he had a bunch of these 1-week wonder wives living there. They had some servants, and they had an allowance, and they had um, people cooking and stuff like that. Now, how long did they stay there? Did they ever get remarried? I don't know. I don't think they ever did. Was that a harem, and he would just go over there and visit them whenever he wanted? Probably. I don't know. Probably. That was what it was. And then the next one would come in, and then a week later, I divorce you. You know? He generally didn't have children with these women. I guess they gave him birth control pills before the wedding. I mean, they might have planned these women out a year in advance, They probably did. They probably had them medically checked to make sure they were intact virgins, and to make sure they had no venereal diseases or anything like that, or bronchitis or anything like that he might catch. That's what they. So why would we want to protect a piece of garbage like that? I don't know. Why didn't the women's rights movement rise up and petition the president to not support a piece of garbage like that? Because the women's rights movement was run by Satan bots. That's why. So the Hanta virus, I think they call it, again, there's a lot of media about it. Let me review this one more time. There's 2 kinds of Hanta virus. There's a kidney kind that works mostly in Asia, and 1% of the people die. It's nowhere near as rough as the other one. I think it's called hemorrhagic fever. It involves some bleeding or something. The other one is a respiratory. And the people on the cruise ship were not really on a cruise ship. They were on an expedition ship. Expedition ships usually go to places like Alaska, where they can get around in little ports where the big ships can't go, and people can look at the seals and the whales or whatever they want to do. Taking the cruise to Alaska is not a great cruise. They stop in little villages for the day, and you can go there and look at the totem poles, which is a demonic idol, by the way. Why would I want to do that? There are occasionally they got some cruises where the boat, you pick the boat up in Alaska somewhere. You fly into Alaska and then it goes around you for a couple of days, so you calm down from the trip and your jet lag, and then it pulls in and you take a bus to a train, and the train has glass canopies and they drive you around inside Alaska where a ship can't go, and they stop in a hotel for a day or two, and they take you out and you could see the bears catching the salmon and stuff like that. And they try to keep you reasonably distant from the bears, but the bears are interested in salmon, and it's a pretty rare thing that they're going to give up on their salmon and go chase some person, which is not on their natural habitat menu. They don't generally see people as an item of food like they would look at a deer or an elk or a moose or something like that. A big grizzly can nail a moose. Uh, they got to be careful if that moose wants to fight back, and you get a male moose who's a tough one and maybe 2-3 years old in his prime, and he starts jamming that grizzly with his horns at high speed. He could hurt the grizzly. You know what I mean? They could kill you. So um, then they, those tours aren't so bad, but the boat, you're not going to be outside on the deck, because even if it's July and August, unless maybe it's 11:30 in the morning to 2:30, it might be warm enough to sit there and get some sun on your face. I don't think you'd ever go swimming on the deck of a boat. You might take a hot jacuzzi. You might be able to do that. It's generally not a pleasant trip like that, and there's mosquitoes in the summer. So if the boat's chugging along in the water, it's 20, 30 miles from shore, it might bring a few residual mosquitoes, but they're probably going to get blown away, you know. And then, uh, it's just not fun. I don't know. People go there, and a lot of people take it and they say never again. If the boat is close to shore, the mosquitoes swarm all over the boat. They will have guys standing there with the doors are opening, killing mosquitoes that go up in the lights. They have like something on a stick. They stick up in there. It's a toxic thing. It kills the mosquitoes. It's pretty lousy thing to do. For some reason, a lot of the SBOT false teachers like to take the wealthy people on these trips because they make so much money on this. They make, the people, a couple taking an Alaska cruise for a week, which is a brief one, are gonna spend at least $7,000-8,000, okay, just for the boat without the airfare, and at least 1,000, if not 1,500, of that is going to the SBOT false teacher. They make a fortune. These people are millionaires running these cruises, these cruise things. They're millionaires. Some of them do 3 a year, and they might get 150, 200 people on the cruise. They're not going to fill the whole cruise boat up with 3,000 people. They're not going to get that. But they'll get, a bunch, and then they get a conference room where they can meet and they talk about what happened during the day and the next day, and then they have Bible studies, and they have prayer time. It's fellowship, supposedly. It's people in the church world. The ones that go for this are almost always retired people, generally not that old yet, like me. they're, in their 60s, early 70s, and they'll have maybe two, between the wife and the husband, they might have two, three pensions, so they're getting, they got an income of, all the pensions together, maybe they got 6, 7 thousand a month, and they could just set money aside. They got the house paid, the cars are paid, so they just set money aside, and they take vacation trips when you're young. That can work if you're not working anymore and you're 68, 69 years old. You're still going out and taking exercise walks. You're in good shape, and you can travel easily. And they just go on these Christian ministry things. They don't know any better, and they make a fortune. Then comes the Israel tours. They put the people on the planes and they take them around. Now, when you want to go price a tour, you go to a tour operator, right? Okay. What he's going to tell you is this. We put about 40 people on a bus. How many buses are you going to bring over? See, it gets dicey if you're going to bring, 37 people. Hey, it's great. If you're going to bring 46 people, now you got a problem. You got to get a second bus. They got to balance this. They might cancel some people, because when you pay for a second bus, you got to get a second bus driver, a second guide, because they talk to the people when the bus is going to the destination. And then they ask you, what level do you want this to be? And you've got budget, medium, and luxury, high end, right? They don't have a fourth. Ultra luxury, you'd have to arrange that yourself. They don't have it. The only ultra luxury you're going to get is go maybe to the King David Hotel in Jerusalem, which is an old hotel, but it's very luxurious. Or go to Tel Aviv, might have one or two like that. That's probably it. Yeah. So there is no real ultra luxury. Luxury is, like not 5-star, 4-star. So they have meals along the way. So when you get the mid-level, which is probably most popular for Americans, Brits, Canadians, Australians, you're going to have better food and, nicer hotel, but it's not going to be a nice, it's not going to be by American standards a nice hotel. It's going to be by American standards a budget hotel. Cheapy, but it's going to be considered a nicer hotel here in Israel. Hang on a second, I gotta check this. I think those are my Ray-Ban Meta glasses. That help me. I don't know. I think that's what that is. Okay. So, yeah, these guys make a lot of money. If you do the tours and you get 75 people on your tour, you get enough money to live the whole year. You listen to me? That's not living luxury. That's living comfortable. 75 people come here and you run them. You're comfortable the rest of the year. And it takes you 10, 14 days, depending how long you want to run it. At least 10 days. And that's it for the year. And most of these guys do it about 3 times a year. How do they live? Well, they buy a nice luxury car that costs at least $100,000, 150,000 in Israel. They live in a house that costs about $1 million to $2 million. Well, they'll live in an apartment that costs $700,000 or $800,000. And they're eating out all the time and flying to Europe all the time and shopping overseas and all this stuff. Okay. Yeah, that's how they do it. Okay. And do the Satan bots really know what's going on? No. If the Satan bot does not have a tour guide license, some of them do. He has to get a tour guide license, or he hires a tour guide. That's all they do. And he sits there and runs Bible studies at the site, poisoning the people, like, the Pharisees and Sadducees did. And, if one wanted to take a cruise, a tour, travel Israel with a tour guide, we know one that is a woman that lives here. She's a really nice person. She's a believer, a real believer, I believe. A real believer, I believe. A very nice person. She really is. And you could hire her by the day. And she knows this stuff. So if you want to learn the history, she'll take you around. And she's got a gun permit and she packs a gun. Yeah, it's true. And she'll take you to areas that are not that, comforting, and she's got the gun. I don't know how well she shoots the gun. I doubt she's very expert with it at all, but it's a big deterrent. You could wear the gun exposed in Israel. You don't have to conceal the gun. If you have the option to buy the gun, you can wear it exposed or you can wear it concealed. It's up to you. Doesn't matter. So that's what goes on with these people and the thing. Now, I want to, before we do the news, I want to talk to you about spiritual warfare, because people are asking me questions all the time, and I want to go through this with you, and I'll be right back. I gotta take the phone. I might get a call from Courier. My wife said we're going to go up into the 90s today. Oh, I feel like we're not going to have a spring. And I like spring so much. It could be the case. We may not have spring. Uh, I don't know. All right. Let's go to basics. What do the unclean spirits do to make you, to destroy your faith with demon tossing? They try to make you think nothing happened. Okay? That's their big one. Well, nothing happened. You know, they just try to act like everything's okay. So they're getting groomed or trained by the unclean spirits that if this happens, don't worry about it. We just leave. You know, that's the only thing they can do. It doesn't work, and blah, blah, blah. You got to act like nothing happened. Okay? So if you got a problem with somebody and you toss them, they're going to keep giving you trouble. A neighbor, let's say, right? Depends how high up in the satanic order they are. Now, the people that are Satan bots that live in a world where they don't have contact with Christians very much or true believers, they're not the same thing. They don't know how to act, and they get nervous and they get scared and they escape. They want to get away. And they want to get advice. They want to get counsel from a more experienced Satan bot. And you can block that. I showed you how to block that from happening. So they don't get counsel from any person or any other unclean spirit. They go crazy. Okay? They get depressed. They get despondent. I mean, really, you know. And then a lot of them will self-medicate with alcohol, marijuana, street drugs. A lot of them will go to the doctor and they'll find the Satan bot doctor and get some kind of drugs from the Satan bot doctor. They're afraid of the demons. They believe that the demons got, you know, ex-special forces hitmen that go around killing people and making it look like an accident if they violate the unclean spirits rules, or you know, all this madness goes around, you know. The people serving the unclean spirits don't have anybody protecting them. It's rare, not impossible, but rare to come across somebody that was a devout Satan bot that really was destined to be elect and then becomes elect. It happens. Paul was probably in that category, Apostle Paul. Why would he be going around wanting to kill believers and put them in jail? You see what I'm saying? Maybe he was just dedicated Orthodox Jew. I don't know. That could be too. So maybe it's true that the elect aren't going to be knowingly serving Satan. Now the elect will frequently have a demon, not know they have a demon, not serving the demons, just running around sinning wildly, getting through life, doing anything, adultery, fornication, alcohol, drugs, gambling, cheating, lying, anything, you know, like a regular sinner, and just run around through life and then tap on the shoulder. A person gets saved, all the demons are out of this person, and the person feels much better. That's not a Satan bot. They're not worshiping the demons. They're not doing everything the demons tell them to do. Okay. Now the sad part is there are people that are believers that want to serve the Lord, that want to do things the right way, that want to, do what the Bible tells them to do, and they want to have the true gospel and stuff like that. But their discernment has not been exercised correctly, and they generally probably don't have a demon in them, but they have a demon hanging around with them, waiting for opportunities to come to this person as an angel of light and make this person think that they're an angel or the Holy Spirit or Yeshua or Jehovah or something. Does anybody that has that sit there and say, tell me, did Yeshua come in the flesh? Probably not. Should you do that? It's in the Bible. Why the heck not? Please do it. In the past, he's fooled me that way. That's how I learned about that. That's how I can teach others. It fooled me. If this angel of light, is it going to materialize? It could, but I don't think so. It's going to be more of a voice throwing. That's darts. It's throwing darts at you. Okay, making you think it's coming from the Ruach HaKodesh or Yeshua or Jehovah or something. Okay, no, you look. Eventually, this devil is going to throw a thought, idea, or notion at you, but it's going to be more of a concrete thing. Like someone once told me that they were told that something bad's going to happen this week. And told me, and nothing happened that week. What's the correct response? You got to understand, you got fooled. Pride cometh before a fall. You got to understand you got fooled. Admit you got fooled. Go back to the Lord and say you're sorry you got fooled. Try to go back and figure out how you get it, how you let this thing in. Okay? How did it get in? How does it get? Not that it's living inside you necessarily. It probably isn't, but it's hanging around you. It could be inside, but I wouldn't think so. But it could be. I don't know. That's not something you're common going to see. Okay, but we turn them over to Satan for the destruction of the flesh so the spirit can be saved. That's where you could wind up with this. Your flesh is being destroyed so your spirit could be saved. And it's probably going to be a pretty miserable experience as your flesh is being destroyed. And now, do some of you have sicknesses and illnesses as you're aging? Okay? Yes. Do a lot of us have that? Yes. Does that mean that all of us are communicating with unclean spirits and thinking it's an angel of light for real? That it's really the Holy Spirit or Jehovah or Yeshua? No. No, that doesn't mean that. If you're involved with this and you're going to be getting fed bad information, bad doctrine, you're going to think you have special insights into the scriptures, that you're special. God's using you in a very special way, and you're going to get stuff that's not in the Bible, okay, and makes no sense, and it would be construed to be contradictory to the Bible. And it makes no sense. It doesn't add up to anything, okay? It's silly stuff, right? But it's always going to be bad doctrine going against things printed in your Bible, okay? What do people like this need to do? They need to repent, ask the Lord to forgive them, ask the Lord to heal them from the punishment, and you want to not do it anymore, and show me how it got in and what I should do, and help me find the right path and this and that. And a lot of people are reluctant to do this because the unclean spirits build them up and make them think they're special, and that's why they're getting all this special information, which is usually a crock of baloney. But they'll tell you they're going to do things. This unclean spirit will tell you he's going to do things, or tell you something's going to happen, and it doesn't happen. In other words, they're going to say something's going to occur in the future, and of course, immediate future, and it's never going to occur. Okay? Now, they do that on purpose. Yes. Because you should know better. And at that point, break it off and go after them and punish. I command you, unclean spirit, that was coming to me as an angel of light, impersonating the Holy Spirit or Yeshua or Jehovah, to take yourself to the place unclean spirits go, where they're thrown out of people, and stay there for a year, starting now. B'Shem Yeshua HaMashiach. You can do things like that to them. The spirits, the unclean spirits, the devils are subject unto you, not the people they're in. In Luke 10, the demons are subject to you. Believe me, they're afraid of you. They're scared of you, but they have to venture out and mess you up. Because if they don't mess you up, you're going to find the true gospel. You're going to start walking with the spiritual warfare. These signs shall follow them that believe. In my name they shall cast out devils. You start going into Luke 10. The demons are subject unto us in your name. And, you're going to wipe your feet over all the devil. All the demons, and you're going to know that they can't do anything to you. You're going to wreck them. Okay, we wreck them, but we're small in number. Okay? But it doesn't matter. We wreck them, but there's not many of us. Okay. So they need to spend their time doing this. Listen, I know they put Satan bots that are false believers to marry certain believers, male and female. They work it both ways. They'll have them marry that person to keep that person messed up. Imagine you married one of these spot dogs, and you're in the marriage. You're in a marriage with them. You're having relations in the bed while the demon's inside the other person. What a disgusting, despicable thought. Nauseating. Okay? These people that serve the demons are like cockroaches. They don't know anything. They're dumbbells, okay? They get deceived, deceiving and being deceived. The demons teach them to deceive other people. That's a sin. Gives more ground to demons, and then the demons deceive them even more. Then you come along and toss them, and that changes the whole game. Now they're going to go back in the game because they're fearful of not being in the game. They don't know what it's like to live like you, where people are picking on you all the time because you're a believer. Okay? People are always nasty to you because you're a believer. In Israel, they'll try to cut the lines and get in front of you because you're a believer. Mm-hmm. All the little things to irritate you and make your life miserable. That's what they want. Okay? That's what they want. So, the Holy Spirit, Yeshua, and Father God Jehovah don't make mistakes. If they're going to tell you something, it's going to be real. Something's going to come to pass. And you can't just disregard it. You've got to deal with it strongly. And it might mean changing your whole lifestyle, because if you don't, you're giving a large amount of ground to the demons, because now something happened that you should be reacting to it and you're not. Okay. When you have a Satan bot friend that you pick up in the church world or elsewhere, what they're going to do is, period of time, real brief, they're going to start revealing to you sins that they do. You understand? Reveal to you sins that they do. And you should be breaking fellowship with them because of those sins. And you won't. And then you get sucked in deeper. Now, when you toss the demon out of somebody, what happens? It goes to the dry place. It's very uncomfortable. It's gone a period of time. And then it goes back to the person it got kicked out of. And it looks like the person's house has been swept clean and put in order. Because unclean spirits are crazy. And they make the people crazy. And the people act like they're in order, but they're not. Okay? They're like children. They just make them believe. Okay, so he comes back with 7 more. That's 8. Okay, what does that lead to? That's a multiple personality disorder. Is you got more than one demon. One takes over, and it's, he likes talking in a British accent. Another one wants to talk in a Latino accent. Another one might want to talk in a French accent. One that might be male, another might be female, whatever. They're not, but they make believe. And they're in there having disputes and fights, possibly over who's in control. And the person is going to be worse off than they were before. But when the demon goes back to come in them, they're still sinning. The demon can't come back to get in there and find out the person is serving Jehovah and then say, well, it's my turn to get back in there. It's not going to work. He ain't getting back in. Okay? That's not happening. Okay? But if the person is still sinning, or in the case of the Satan bot, they're going to sit there and plead for Satan to send them another demon. They value these demons as really important, and they want them in their life badly. They love them. They're idiots. I'm telling you, you have no idea how stupid they are. You probably don't have much of an idea what kind of miserable life they have. And I'll tell you, they'll do anything that the demons tell them. Don't worry, we'll take care of you. They'll do anything. Yeah. The jails are full of demons. They're people with demons because they don't listen. Before they commit a crime, they go to the demons and ask them about it. The demons tell them no, and they do it anyway. Well, then the demons let them go to jail. Any and all big criminal organizations are run by demonic people. You join a motorcycle gang, they put you in the first for a year or something like that as a prospect. Then you're a slave to the gang. You run errands, you do anything and everything. They might very well have you stick your neck out. Transport contraband, if you get caught, you're going to get 30, 40 years in jail, 20 years. They might tell you to go kill somebody. Don't worry, we'll help you. And if you say no, they don't just throw you out of the club, they kill you. If you say yes, you get caught, you're going to go to jail for a long time. There's three ways to generally get out of these motorcycle clubs. One is get arrested. You can't go to the club anymore, you're in jail. Two is get critically old or sick. In other words, they understand that somebody gets to be 68 or something, their vision goes, they can't ride the motorcycle safely anymore, and they're losing coordination, and they were good to the club, and the club says, okay, you're retired out. They don't try to make them do things stupid. They retire them in good standing. They can fly the colors, wear the whatever. I don't know. And then the third way is you're dead. They talk to the wives in the club. When a woman wants to marry one of these guys, they tell her, you're forbidden to ever go to him and tell him you got to choose between me and the club, because the club wins, not you. Bear that in mind. He can't put you before the club, and you can't ask him that. They're threatening her, basically. Now, some of these people got in the club at 27 years old. They got out of jail. They had nothing going for them in life, They joined the club. What do they get? They get a family. That's a treacherous family that can betray them, but a family. They get status, they wear the colors, they go to the meeting. They'll get help economically with a job or crime, criminal activities, and there are motorcycle clubs where they just get on their motorcycles on Saturday and Sunday and ride around. And that's not a motorcycle gang. That's just a bunch of motorcycle enthusiasts. That's not the same thing. There's guys that do that with antique cars every Saturday and Sunday, usually every Sunday. They go ride around with their antique cars in groups. It's the same thing, except they're using motorcycles. That's not what we're talking about. Now, you see a lot of these motorcycle guys in jail. Okay. And a lot of times they're not just the newbies, but because the older ones are more the kingpins and they get targeted. They they do a lot of things. They'll do prostitution, they'll do drugs, they'll do weapons, they'll do explosives, they'll do stolen cars, stolen motorcycles, fencing. They'll sell protection to people. Not that they go to a guy that has a pizza store and say, "Hey, give us $300 a week, or you're gonna have trouble." Well, they'll go to somebody that's got a, I don't know, maybe he's got a bar or a discotheque, and he's got trouble, or I don't know, people sell drugs in there, and he gets a cut, or who knows why. And other gangs want to move in on him, or so he goes to a motorcycle gang and says, he has a connection, and yeah, we'll help you, 1,000 a week or 2,000 a week, and they, it'd probably be more than that today, probably 4,000 or 5,000 a week, and they send a couple of guys there when he's open to wear the colors, and they make their presence known. They walk around the club, or they sit where the people come in and check their IDs or something like that. So they're sending a signal out that if you want to shake this guy down, this motorcycle club is going to be coming after you. So most of the time, the guys doing the shakedown aren't going to bother with it, Most of you have, well, almost all of you have no contact with gangs like that. They normally don't bother civilians. You're a civilian. Because civilians go to the police. Civilians go to the narco people. They go to the state police. They go to the feds. And this causes trouble for them that they don't want. Now, you got gray areas here. Like, you could move into a house, and 2 houses down is a lousy, horrible motorcycle club, and they're making a lot of noise with the loud stereo at night, keeping you up. I mean, usually they won't do that, though. They're smart. They're too smart for that. But let's say they did. And you phoned it in, and they figured out you phoned it in. Well, now they think you declared war on them. Could you go over to them nicely and say, "Hey guys, you're keeping our family up at night. Do you think it's possible?" Well, if you did that, what would you get back? Some of the time they might say they'll agree. Most of them know better not to disturb the peace because it brings the police. They might be comfortable with it, and because you showed respect and everything else, and they may do it. Um, Hard to say. But they might tell you that it's their right, they like doing it. And, they might, if they liked you, they might invite you to their party. Figuring you wouldn't come, but I don't know. You'd have to have rocks in your head to go to their party. Man. They attract people that want to belong to something, have this like it's a family, and they're really dedicated to it. This might sound stupid. It's the same mindset that gets these kids to join the Navy SEALs. It's different though. The criminals aren't getting into the Navy SEALs, but these are people that want a license to kill. Okay? They want to get a 00 number, And that's what they are. They go on missions. They don't care. They're told to go on a mission and they have to kill certain people, and they don't sit there and say, well, what did these people do? Why are we killing them? They're not going to think like that. They'll be told why they're getting killed superficially. It's... A lot of these people are prison people. They go in and out of jail or have done it in their life. Now, if they're on probation and parole, they generally can't be in a motorcycle gang or they'll be put in jail. So it's not that much of that going on. But when they're free of the penal system, that's the kind of person. That's going to join because they got nothing, and they want to belong, They ran a TV show a while ago, probably 10, 15 years ago, about a motorcycle gang. And they had these tattoos put on their back that were huge. The logo stuff that was put on the denim jacket that they wore. And from my knowledge, that's not that common. Where they get these big, huge tattoos. They wear the colors on their denim jacket and they take it off. But I imagine some of them get that. A lot of the guys that go in and out of prison love getting tattoos because the prison can't take it away. And what they see when they go to jail is everybody's the same. You get the same shoes, pants, shirt, anything they can get to differentiate themselves, they want. A pair of sunglasses, a cap, anything, and tattoos do the job well. So they get a bunch of tattoos, and so back to demon tossing. So let's say you just toss somebody, right? You don't get into the complicated spiritual warfare like in Luke 10 where you're treading over all the power of the enemy. You're just tossing. You're doing Mark 16, verse 17. These signs shall follow those that believe in my name. They shall cast out devils. Now, if you're a true believer, the elect, you're supposed to be doing that as per Mark chapter 16, verse 17. Yet they don't do it in about 99% of the cases. Why? Well, that's because of the churchianity churches. Okay? If this is what believers are supposed to do, and they're not doing it, what is the conclusion? Does 2 plus 2 equal 7, or does 2 plus 2 equal 4? It's obvious. It doesn't equal 7. Okay, so then they continue to sin, and the demon comes back from the pit and brings 7 others with him at some point, right? Now this guy's got 8. So just by the multipliers, you're tying up the demons. There's a finite number of demons. You know, they don't have an infinite number of them, okay? So you're tying up more and more demons, okay? See, if our numbers were, you know, what is there, 600 of us, 800, 1,000 maybe. If we had 45,000 of us, I think Satan would be going nuts, because there'd be so many people every day tossing and tossing and tossing and tossing. It would be pretty hard on them. But we try. But the person, you see, we don't do anything to the person. You're telling the unclean spirits to come out of this person, or you're telling the unclean spirits they can do something or they can't do something, okay? Basically, you should restrict it to just can't do something, okay? And we're not doing that to people. We don't tell people they can't do something, or you can't do this, you can't do that. So the people are still going to run around acting belligerent and mean, even though they don't have an unclean spirit. Now, if you cancel any and all the witchcraft and sorcery and spells and enchantments they ever did, the expire, you'll hurt them too, because a lot of them got 30, 40 years of witchcraft built up. Now you throw their little demon out of them, and you throw the demon out of them, and you know, we're not, you know, when in Luke 10 they came back, they didn't say the people that serve the unclean spirits are subject unto us. No. When I was first trying to learn to use this stuff back in the early 90s, I was commanding the unclean spirits not to come out of a person, and to keep thinking of their life in the lake of fire perpetually, you know. And I stopped that, you know, because I believe the Lord showed me, when you're telling an unclean spirit they got to be in somebody, that's cursing them. The unclean spirit's a cursed thing, and you're telling the curse it can't leave. I wouldn't do that. Can you do this? Let's say the person's name is John Doe. I command all you unclean spirits in John Doe to be absolutely miserable as long as you're inside John Doe. You will have no peace, no calm, no rest, no joy, no pleasure, just sheer agony and misery when you're in this person. B'Shem Yeshua HaMashiach. Can you do that? I suppose you could. I don't know what your goal would be, because it's just going to come out of the person. It's not going to stay there. Okay? But it would make the person miserable if it stayed there. That's why I wouldn't do that. Because then the word is going to get out that having an unclean spirit can lead to miserable experiences. They won't want unclean spirits in them. So I wouldn't do that either. I would just keep it simple. Throw them out. The sheer numbers are on your side. Okay? Now again, they go in animals. They can go in a bug. I've had them do it in a fly. They'll go inside a dog. They can go inside a cat. Could they go inside a goldfish? I never heard of it, but I don't see why they couldn't. They could go in a bird or anything like that. Okay? Yep. They're not going to attack you or anything like that in an animal. I never heard of that. If you saw somebody following you at night, you're afraid they're going to rape you or mug you, toss the unclean spirit and command all the unclean spirits not to communicate with this person at all in any way, shape, or form for a month, beginning then, and that no person will try to comfort or educate or help this person either that serves unclean spirits for a month and then close it out, B'Shem Yeshua Mashiach, and that'll probably put an end to your pursuer. Okay? Hang on a second. Gotta look at this. Okay. Um, let's go into the news. So the important thing is when you do the toss, don't look for earthly signs. Okay, because they'll try to confuse you. They'll try to conceal them. Okay, if you threw the unclean spirits out of them and they started throwing the person around on the floor, the person screaming and yelling, oh, you'd be elated. Your faith would go woo all the way up. And they don't want that. So they want to make you think nothing happened. Okay? That's what they try to do. And just be aware of it. And just keep pushing on and on and on. Okay, there is a prayer request here. Two, actually. We have a for MB Mike Bravo, a prayer request for healing. For Mike Bravo healing. It's a serious illness. Mike Bravo healing. Okay. And ED Echo Delta. ED Echo Delta ED. Prayer request is to get better at spiritual warfare and for peace, joy, calm, and rest in the middle of a storm. Like in the Galilee when the storm came with Yeshua in the boat and they got upset. Okay? So don't be getting upset or stressed because Yeshua's in your boat with you. Spiritually. But that's all you need. Okay. So for ED, the prayer request is to get better at spiritual warfare and to have peace, joy, calm, and rest. Even though it's like the middle of a storm. Okay. I want to erase these so I don't do them again. Trump's in China on the 13th tomorrow to the 15th. 13th is Wednesday, 14th is Thursday, 15th is Friday. China's ahead of American time, I believe so. So probably when he finishes this meeting on Friday, there'll be a little bit of a ceremony and he'll go to the airplane and begin the journey back to America. And I don't think they're going to start the war up again. Probably be Saturday. Now, it might be when he's on the plane and he's 3 or 4 hours away from America or something like that. I don't know. I'm guessing Saturday. Now, Trump likes to start these fights on the weekend because the markets don't go crazy, because people are off for the weekend. They're boozing, they're traveling, they're partying, they're distracted, they're not trading their stock portfolio that much, or probably not at all. The United States just experienced its worst spring drought ever last month. That would be April. In all their recorded history of droughts and rain and all that, the United States just had its worst month for drought ever in their recorded history in April. More than 60% of the land in the lower 48 states experienced moderate to higher drought. Medium to high drought. Moderate is medium. Or moderate is moderate. Maybe it's not medium. I don't know. Moderate. Okay? So noticeable drought for sure. And that's in your Jeremiah 50 and 51. Dry up our springs, and I will kindle fires in and about your city. Well, when you have drought, the fires are much easier to burn. The drought has sparked alarms among farmers and environmentalists across the country, who warn that food supplies may be impacted and wildfires may blight areas where they are not usually seen. Now, this is a weird one. Pakistan allowed Iran to park drones and military aircraft, whatever pittance they had, on runways in Pakistan to protect them from being blown up by the U.S. military. Pakistan seems to be denying it. See, Pakistan is acting as a negotiator here, and they're in a tizzy. Pakistan made a mutual defense treaty with Saudi Arabia, which are Muslims, like them. And it's not at all interested in turning on Iran to protect Saudi Arabia, but it would have to. So I think what's looking at the way Pakistan is playing it, I think that the Pakistanis will break the contract with Saudi Arabia and just not defend them. I don't know why or how, but that's what it looks like to me. Um, Bulk carrier managed by a U.S. company was hit by uh, it says was hit by suspected hostile fire in the Persian Gulf. Guess who? Iran. One of several ships to be attacked in the Strait of Hormuz over the weekend as the United States and Iran failed to reach agreement on a permanent ceasefire. Well, Iran is just showing everybody they're not in this ceasefire seriously, and they're not afraid of America at all. And they asked America for war reparations, and again, in their latest proposal, Trump almost went through the floor. See, it's not going to do for Trump to be fighting with Iran while he's visiting China, but you don't know with Trump. He might think that if he does fight with them, it's going to scare the Chinese. How would he do it? Well, if he starts the war before he flies over, the Chinese may say they got to cancel it. How does that work? Well, dear Mr. Trump, Iran is a dear ally of ours, and it wouldn't do for us to have commercial, peaceful negotiations with you while you were bombing our ally. So we can't have this meeting. See you around the campus one day. Goodbye. Okay. So if Trump's in the air on his way over there, could they still do that? Yes. If Trump landed in China, could they do it if he started the war while he was there? I think they would, at best, go through the negotiations and not make a deal with anybody, or at worst, cancel and tell Trump it's time to go home. Now, Trump's bringing about 30 executives with him. Elon Musk, the guy from Boeing, the guy from Visa, lots of big players, big Satan bot convention, bringing them over to China. So I don't think he wants. I think he's going to wait till Friday. And when he leaves China, he may wait 3 or 4 hours and start the war. Or maybe not. I don't know. None of us are getting the impression that Trump wants to pull out. No. No. Trump's going to go through with it. He talks about it, another 2-week blitz. That's not going to get China to give in. They're trying to get rid of Starmer. Some of the members of the, the parliament in the UK want Starmer to step down and resign. He might. I don't know. The UK's Maritime Operations Centre on yesterday, said the, what the heck is this? Saphisia, Saphisia, NEHA, a 590, what a name, huh? Woo! A 590-foot bulk vessel, sailing flag to the Marshall Islands, which is, I think, America or something, part of America. Marshall Islands flag, and managed by a United States-based Saphisia group. In other words, they manage the ship. They may not own it. Was reportedly struck by a projectile on May 10th. Today is the 12th. Near Qatar. The incident caused a small fire but no injuries aboard the 16-year-old ship. You know, that's Iran insulting Trump again. Now, you're going to see some blowback on this to the EU coming from the Lord, I believe. The EU imposes sanctions on violent settlers in the West Bank after Hungary's veto falls away. Foreign ministers approve measures against 4 Israeli organizations, 3 individuals, alongside sanctions on 10 senior Hamas officials. Foreign Minister Gideon Sair at a Gideon Saar denounces the move as politically motivated and says the EU drew outrageous parallels between Israel and Hamas terrorists. So Israel is deciding they want to put various economic punishment sanctions on Israel pertaining to the West Bank, and the strong implication is that Israel has no right to this land. What's going on, guys? Hold on, I got a door clean cooking up here. I better do one. All right, what's going on? What? What's happening? What are the two of you up to? Okay, mommy, go home. Go home, go home, go home. Go, 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 go. Hey, go home. Go home. Don't give me crap. Beulah wanted to go to the bathroom and go outside, and the other one is getting jealous, and she wants to go outside instead. And, so I had to separate them. All right. Jealousy runs deep in the dog world. All right. I think the Lord's going to start giving the European Union problems because they're starting to give problems to Israel. And, that whole thing is predicated on that the members of the United Nations decided that that land doesn't belong to Israel. Well, all the land in the whole world belongs to the Lord. All the gold, all the cattle, everything. Why do the heathen rage? A vain thing. Pakistan, okay, we covered that. They allowed Iran to do this. Iran also moved civilian aircraft. Now, they moved military stuff to Pakistan. I'll read it. Okay, it was blah 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 blah. They moved RC-130 reconnaissance plane to the strategic Nur Khan Air Base near Rawalpindi in Pakistan. Even as Islamabad was publicly presenting itself as a mediator between Iran and Washington. Yeah. Iran also moved civilian aircraft to Afghanistan, that's next door to the east of them, with one Mahan airplane relocated from Kabul to Herat for safety during Pakistan's airstrikes on Kabul in March. So they moved the plane to Afghanistan to get away from Pakistan, and then when America and Israel were attacking, they moved aircraft into Pakistan to get away from America's strikes. Go figure this out, huh? The Pakistani and the Afghani Taliban officials, the Taliban's, as far as I know, it's just in Afghanistan, officials denied the claims, while U.S. officials say the arrangement appeared almost at it appeared aimed at shielding Iranian assets from American strikes. So that means that America is not pleased with Pakistan now, and of course Afghanistan they're never pleased with. Now you got to listen to this. This is coming from an Iranian source. Not from me, from someone else I got it from, but this person has pretty good, not perfect, but pretty good intel. We are returning to war within a week. The Iranian army ground forces have been equipped with 10,000 FPV drones, according to the new standard operating procedure. Okay, FPV drone. It's not a huge drone. It's a drone, not a super fast drone. And it's a short-range drone that's operated with a fiber optic cable. I believe it's got a range of about 6 miles or 10 kilometers. And you can't jam it because it doesn't receive its commands wirelessly. It receives them on a fiber optic, a very thin fiber optic cable that connects the drone with the operator. It's on a reel or a spindle, and it's unraveling as the thing goes. The operator is typically wearing artificial reality glasses or goggles, and the drone has cameras, so it's using the cameras to orient itself and drive the drone to attack. So the drone is a dangerous item at very close range. So why would they make 10,000 of these if they're really telling the truth? Because they're afraid of a ground invasion. So if there's a ground invasion, you got their soldiers and the other side soldiers, and they're near each other and they're fighting and they're going to go kill each other. And they're going to use these drones to attack the enemy at very close distances. What Israel is starting to do is protect vehicles up at the border by Lebanon by putting metal, work like this, woven pieces of metal like a fence, but stronger than a fence, so the drone hits it and it doesn't hit the vehicle. They're using these things on tanks in Ukraine for a long time. They take it's made out of hard steel, it looks like that, a meshwork with steel rods, and they put it maybe 1 meter over the tank. It covers it, so if they send some sort of missile or drone down from above, it doesn't hit the tank on the turret. That's really where the tank is at its weakest, in the turret area. It doesn't hit that because it hits that very stiff mesh and blows up a meter away. And the force is, directed. It's not directed into the tank. It's just directed in the air. And it'll hit the tank. The wave of the blast will hit the tank, but it's not going to mean anything. The tank's pretty tough. It can take a blast wave all day long. It can take more than a blast wave to, trash the tank. I better check the temperature here for a minute. I don't know how hot it got already. It's not that hot. It's 78. Oh, it's going to hit 93. Well, it's not hot yet. And it's cloudy, but the sun's going to come out in the afternoon, and that's when the temperature's going to go up in the late afternoon. And then what about tomorrow? Tomorrow we drop to 85. That's not bad. I slept last night without any covers, so it's getting summertime-ish, but we didn't have the we didn't have the air conditioning. I don't think we'll need the air conditioning today. We might put it on for a little bit, but probably not. I'm not even so sure it's going to get up that hot. It may or may not. I don't know. It doesn't sound like it to me, but we'll see. All right, let me get back in here. I believe there'll be a war within a few days. Most people that are following this to say the same thing. It's pretty obvious. this is a little interesting. The Tripoli landing ship, that's the one out there by Oman, and it's with the Abraham Lincoln and the George Bush aircraft carriers. There's no other carriers around here right now. Uh, that's the docking ship. It's 86 kilometers from the coast of Oman in the Arabian Sea. So it's about, um, no, I'm sorry, it's 66 kilometers. So it's, I don't know, something like 35 miles, roughly, something like that. That's not that far away. So this ship is being exposed to Iran in some ways. I don't know what's up with that. The law for prosecuting the terrorists of the Simchat Torah massacre, that's October 7th, was finally approved with a majority of 93 Knesset members. Judges will be able to impose the death penalty, and terrorists who are convicted will never be released. Now, this law should have been done a long time ago. You see, the terrorists, when we did the prison swap with Hamas in Gaza, I don't know what it was, a year and a half ago, you know, I don't know what it was, 15, 20,000 or some crazy number. I think it was definitely in excess of 10,000. Prisoners were traded for the hostages. So they go out and they kill an innocent Israeli child or old person or woman or whatever by stabbing them in the back or shooting them, whatever they think they can get away with, right? And then what happens? They go to jail, okay? They sit in jail. Mahmoud Abbas sends them money to support their family while they're in jail. So they're a hero to the family. I killed a Jew, look, and now you're getting paid for it. And they also get a commissary fund payment in while they're in jail, so they could afford a cell phone and buy treats or whatever they sell in the commissary, right? I don't know what it is. I heard it was $100. It could be $50. It could be 500. I don't know what it is. Okay. Uh, and then what happens? Well, they sit in jail and then they get traded. It may take a few years, and they get back on the streets and they hook up with Hamas again and they get a job with them as a murderer, you know, that kind of thing, right? So what happens when you do the death penalty? Well, they come in and they did something. Now, this may just be restricted to those on October 7th. I don't know. I believe it's broader than that. I'm not sure. And it might be broader, but they're only going to use it on the October 7th people. So it's a little hard to figure it out right now. They get the death penalty. I believe it's hanging. I think that's how I think we killed Eichmann. I don't know why they didn't do a firing squad. I was figuring that's what they would have done. But okay, they're doing the hanging. Uh, so you can't trade. That terrorist is not available for trade anymore. He's dead. You could trade his dead body. I mean, I don't know what they'll do with the dead bodies. They might just send them back or bury them. I don't know what they'll probably just send them back. I don't know. They might keep them to trade for dead bodies of Israelis in the future. They might do that too. They'd smart if they did. So the terrorists, the family will be supported for perpetuity as long as Mahmoud Abbas has money and he's there. He'll pay them a living wage every month because their son or husband or whatever got killed killing a Jew. And, you know, Trump lets this go on and Netanyahu lets it go on. They should storm the place and put him in jail and execute him for conspiracy to kill Jews. That's what they should do, but they don't. Netanyahu, curse of Israel. So this stops them from, you know, so the mindset, oh, let me go kill a Jew, I'll go to jail, and then I'll get out of jail. Or if I don't, I'll get killed on the spot, and then I'll be a martyr, you know? And they all sit around the jail and wait to get out. The jail's just emptied out recently, trading for the hostages. They just emptied the prisons to a great extent. There's still some there, but a lot got out. And what's the first thing they want to do? Kill Jews again. So the death penalty will take a lot of it off the street. You know, they'll kill them. And that could scare some of them. It's something that should have been done decades ago. It can scare some of them. Okay? A murderer getting killed for murder is rather biblical, isn't it? Yep. I think it might help a little bit with the terrorism, not tremendously, but a little. The Iranian tankers that were attacked, I believe it was two of them by the Americans. I think it was 2 days ago. Yeah, for 2 days they've been burning. They're on fire burning for 2 days. Well, that means the ship is probably trashed. I mean, a ship burning for 2 days is pretty serious. It could cost more money to fix a boat that's been burning for days than it is to buy a new boat. Let me see if we got any questions or things I need to deal with here in the live stream. No, I don't think so. Okay, so that's the update. I believe we're headed for more war. Let me get Bueller in for a minute, guys. I'll be right back. I don't want her out there in the heat. Come on, Bueller. Come on, honey. Come. Come on in. So, that's what I got. So if you want to damage, if you just want to keep it simple and damage the unclean spirit world, just toss. These signs shall follow those that believe in my name, they shall cast out devils. That's all you got to do. If you want to get more complicated, like Luke 10, and tread over all the power of the enemy, you can do that too. But when you fight them in the spirit, you win. But you're not fighting the people. You're fighting the unclean spirits using the people. So the collateral damage is the unclean spirits, that the people are still there. The unclean spirits are gone, but the people are there. Okay? But a Satan bot without a demon is like a taxi driver without a taxi. He can't go anywhere. That's the way it is with the Satan bots. All right, let's get a prayer out for us. My Heavenly Father, Jehovah, B'Shem Yeshua Mashiach, I pray for me and my wife and all the true believers in our households. I pray we have your strength, stamina, and endurance. I pray we have your healing and recuperative power flowing through us. And I pray for ourselves and our animals and pets to be safe and secure and happy, healthy, and whole. I pray for the peace of Jerusalem. I pray we don't take any more damage to the land. I pray we no longer keep getting hit with drones and missiles. I pray I can do better videos. I pray for all of us to know the scriptures better. I pray if any of us needs a job, we find a good job. If any of us need clients or customers for our business, we find those. I pray that we all have adequate funds and then some extra. And I pray for us to have more peace and faith and wisdom. And I pray all this to you, my Heavenly Father, B'Shem Yeshua HaMashiach. Let's do some spiritual warfare. B'Shem Yeshua HaMashiach, my Heavenly Father, Jehovah, I loose off of me and my wife and all the true believers in our households and families any witchcraft or sorcery directed or targeting us. It's null and void for all time, no value, no effect forever. And B'Shem Yeshua HaMashiach. And if any unclean spirit is inside any of the family members or so forth, I command these unclean spirits to depart from these people immediately, never to return unto them again. B'Shem Yeshua HaMashiach. Now, if you're a believer, you can agree with these things I've been putting up, and you should. It makes it more strong. And that's about it. If you got questions about spiritual warfare, you can certainly email me. My email address is israelgiving with the number 7 at gmail.com. Israelgiving with the number 7 at gmail.com. And I'll try to answer it, but I'm going to have to keep it concise. I don't want to, make big speeches, What else? That's about it. So I'll keep you updated. I think things are going to coast for a few days. Then we're going to get into into the war escalating. Now, can Trump escalate the war today or tomorrow and see what happens with China? Yeah, but I don't think he's taking a chance. He's got these people going over there. Let me give you a list real quick of who's going. It's pretty impressive list of industry in America. Um, let's see if I can find it now. I shouldn't have much trouble. Oh, they're talking about nuke, missile, submarine going into the Mediterranean. Forget all that nonsense. They might have done something like that to try to scare people or something like that. I don't know. Hold on, something popped up. I don't know how real this is. Wait a second. They're talking. If the Straits of Hormuz are closed for 2 months, there's going to be a tremendous problem. Well, I don't know about that. 2 months is a long time. Okay, let's see who we got going over there. You got somebody going from Citibank, Apple, Tesla, which is Elon Musk. The Elon Musk is going. Black Nook, whatever that is. No, Black Rock. Black Rock. I don't know what that is either. Boeing, Visa, Cisco, Coherent, Micron, Qualcomm, MasterCard, all the credit people going. This probably got something to do with BRICS and the money. Meta, Goldman Sachs, Goldie's going. GE Aerospace, that's General Electric. So probably at some point in the 50s or 60s, General Electric was anointed by Satan. That's no anointing. You know, oh, you go into the aerospace business, some stupid thing like that. They probably don't know anything about it. Blackstone, that's mercenaries, I think. These are the big corporations, you know. So I don't think Trump wants to do anything to mess that up. They're trying to make deals with China. Trump is probably thinking, you know, that's a two-way street. China's going to prosper also in this if it comes together. So China's probably got a team of people there too. So if it comes together, China makes money. So Trump's probably trying to pull China away from Iran and just let Iran go down, you know. You know, the problem is that if Trump does this and comes back on the 15th and then starts the war, they may just cancel the whole thing. What if they're saying, hey, this is good, we'll, you know, within a month or two we'll have all the follow-up and the deals should start to close, and then what's Trump going to do? Wait 2 months, 3 months? You know, he can't. He's going to open up the Persian Gulf to shipping again. I think that's one of the first things he'll do. But we'll have to see. Okay, guys. So I send my shalom to all those who love you. And I'm out. Thanks. And I hope you got some of this.